Welcome back to the Ride Boundless podcast. This episode is brought to you by Ride Clean. Ride Clean is the simple and easy way of keeping your motorcycle and car clean. Simply shake, spray, and wipe. Get a mirror-like finish, UV protection, made in America, bottled in America. Check them out at rideclean.co. Use promo code RBPodcast for 25% off. Plus, they're including a 2-ounce bottle with the purchase of a 16-ounce or a 32-ounce. Free shipping and microfibers. Satisfaction guaranteed. You'll love the product. That's rideclean.co. Promo code RBPodcast. Super exciting episode. Let me give you the appropriate introduction. It goes like this. Founded by Marcelo Doffo in 1997, Doffo Winery sits in the hills of Southern California's Temecula Valley. This family-owned and operated winery produces many award-winning wines and has earned a stellar reputation in the regions of Malbecs, Zinfandels, Cabernets, Sauvignons, and more. I hope I pronounced that right. I will see them later this week and we'll know. I checked out the winery. They got wine, food, the best chimichurri I've ever had in my life. I got to sit down with Marcelo and his son, Damian, and get to hear the backstory of how they put this all together, where the passion of motorcycles came from, the American dream before even coming to America. So without further ado, let me get this started right now. Thank you guys for having me here. Such a beautiful place. How long has this location been here?
About 21 years.
21 years? And if you get a little closer, 21 years? Then you started in this city, or did you have a location before this? Because I see the signs. The company's been around since 1951, 52?
Well, I think that was the second generation decided to honor my birth year. So
nice.
I guess I've been around since 1951.
Since 1951.
But I purchased the land in...
if you can come a little closer, I apologize.
In 1997.
Okay.
And the rest is just history. It's been up and down, but mostly great.
Now, before we talk about how you ended up here and how you purchased the place and started your company... you're not originally from Temecula, are you?
No, I was born in South America, Argentina, and
Buenos Aires?
No, Central Argentina,
Central.
Córdoba. And I emigrated here in 1975.
Nice.
Actually, May 25th.
That's a day away from my birthday,
There
May
you
26th. But a few years later.
Yes.
Just a few years later. And then what brought you in that time to United States? Was it, did you come with your family, or you did it by yourself?
No, I did. Came with my future wife, which is the mother of my 3 kids. And we got married in Hollywood. And then I began working with cars. Actually, the first job was a little fun story because I knew someone and they asked me to go sell photographic coupons for $1. I'll keep the dollars.
Yeah.
Right. I sell you like a piece of paper. You give me $1, and then you come to the studio and get 1 free picture. So it was a gimmick to sell them to come into the studio and then sell them a big package.
Upsell them, yeah.
Right. And I almost got eaten by a Doberman because I was walking in Van Nuys back in the 70s. And, this dog almost ate me alive. So I decided that wasn't a job for me. And I used all my only pair of shoes that I had. They were gone.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't.
So it got to the point where he got to your shoes.
No.
Just
because I walk around for so much. I mean, for like 2 weeks, I would just go up and down the street knocking door to door.
And you were wearing out your shoes.
So I decided that it wasn't for me. So then I found another friend who took me to a body shop in Hollywood. And I got hired the next day to start doing repairs along with a guy who took me with him because he wanted to sell me the toolbox because he was retiring.
Yeah.
And he kept the first 15 days check and the toolbox. So welcome to.
Yeah. That's funny.
So, but I recovered.
But just to go back to the original question, what made you leave Argentina and come out here? Was it because you planned to get married and then you decided to stay, or was it you said I have to? The economy's bad. Like what is the backstory? Like how are you?
Well,
raised?
it's a combination of many things. I was very ambitious, and Argentina, as always, was going through a very serious crisis.
As always,
the inflation was it's like in the history books, because I think it was like 800%, and the prices were altered daily.
Yeah.
Of all the goods, and I was doing like metal canopies for farm or carport on my own, and they put me out of business. I couldn't give you an estimate today and do the job a week later and lose.
Because prices would fluctuate.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing was consistent.
Daily.
Wow.
It was going.
Not even weekly or monthly.
No. Daily. So I had this opportunity, and I just.
You found the closest beautiful woman and said, "Hey,
Oh, definitely.
Let's
she
go."
Was gorgeous, still gorgeous woman, and
what did you tell her to convince her? Like,
no, well, she was living here, so that was like already a step.
Nice, yeah.
Okay,
so purpose,
yeah. So I landed in Hollywood and not knowing one word of English, and I just went out and tried to survive at the beginning, and little by little I was fascinated by the cars, so I began to look for cars that needed some repairs, and I started selling it little by little, one at a time.
So you would find them, fix them, flip them.
Right.
You started making money at this
on the street.
Yeah.
So I got to a point where that was a full-time job.
Yeah.
And we moved to Costa Mesa.
Right.
And I kept doing it in a large scale until my garage was a shop, and then the apartment complex has parking spaces. So one day I saw one of those big Dodge Polata, green in color, coming down the alley, and it was a city inspector.
Uh-oh.
And he goes,
"What's going on here?"
"Yeah, are those cars yours?" "Yes, sir." "Very proud." "Okay.
Want to buy one?
This is residential."
Yeah.
So that forced me to do the second move, which a brother-in-law was a doctor, and he wanted to quit. So he proposed me to open a used car lot, so sales, and so we did.
And was it just sales, or you guys were doing repairs and sales?
Well, no, it was mostly sales, but
you repaired your own cars, but
I used to do some repairs too.
Yeah.
Not in a big scale. Until one day I bought remember the Chevy Chevette, which was a very disposable car with a hard front end hit. So I decided to repair the car.
Yeah.
To sell it, but my partner says that my labor was part of being partnered.
Right.
So we split the profit 50-50, and I thought it was unfair, so we split.
Yeah.
In kind of a bad terms, but we split.
Most partnerships
and
end that way.
That was good because I moved across the street with a bigger car lot, and by then we were selling $2 or $3 million a year, so it was a very interesting business. But the financing of the cars, because our clientele were mostly illegal people, it was difficult.
Yeah.
So, but we survived. We did really well.
I got a question. Yeah, I got a question. Just curiosity. The prices of cars back then, the average price to now, how big of a difference was it?
Oh,
And what year are we talking about?
well, that was probably in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I will buy a Chevy Camaro for $1,800,
I mean, that's bars on a motorcycle
right.
today.
And retail it for 35.
Yeah. And then was it, so banks were offering financing, or you would do in-house
Well,
financing?
50-50.
50-50?
But the finance that I was doing through the bank, I needed to guarantee it, so it was practically a loan.
Yeah.
So I repossessed a few cars.
And then you get to resell it again, right?
Yeah, but
When you found it.
I would repossess it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And it was a very scary moment. Sometimes we called the cops for backup.
Yeah.
Until one night I repossessed the Chevy Monte Carlo. I remember 72 was in the driveway, and the owner came out. And I said, I tell you,
Did he just give you the key and goes, here you go?
No, I had an extra key, but when he found out that the
Yeah.
car was pulling out of the driveway, the guy came out of the house fast.
Yeah.
And I took off, but I thought that it was like a sign of a close call, because
It's dangerous.
practically you're still in it, and I could have got shot. Santa Ana wasn't, the best safe place.
Was the crime rate
No,
high
no,
that-
actually no, but their neighborhoods were.
Yeah, of course.
So
And the clientele you're dealing with, I imagine, was like people that couldn't buy a new car, right? So you were dealing with higher risk.
some of them, yes, totally.
Yeah.
So then we move on. My brother came to live with us, and we opened a repair detail shop.
Yeah.
We couldn't get a license for an auto body shop, so we began to do repairs and sales. So we buy cars that need some repairs and take it to the car lot and sell it. And we did really well until we moved to another location, and then we moved to a new building.
Did you move the whole business, or was this a second location?
Well, no, we moved the business. The city of Santa Ana was trying to widen the street, so they offer us some compensation to relocate.
Nice.
So we did to a second. It was a bigger place with we had a used car lot in the front and a repair shop on the back.
Yeah.
And then we built a new shop also in 1985, I think.
Okay.
And that was a very, the first few years was a very rewarding business until the insurance companies begin to look for more profit, and it became really stressful, very stressful.
There was I mean, I don't know the whole story, but there was a big change of the insurance companies, right? And at first, it was like they were really trying to do coverage. And then, like you said, then they started wanting to profit more. And there was more competition between insurance companies, and they didn't want to pay.
Well, the worst part was when the big flow of Taiwanese parts show up, replacement parts,
Yeah.
And it was funny because the insurance company would call them like, kind, and quality, LKQ.
Like, kind, and
Right.
like,
It's
kind,
a
and
very
quality.
famous
Which was the opposite
letters and the industry of the body shop, LKQ. So it was impossible to make them fit.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, they were like no room to make any money. So the insurance company began really acting very I don't know, greedy, and put a lot of body shop out of business.
Yeah. It made it difficult.
Yeah.
What did you do afterwards?
Well, in '03, I had a health issue, and I decided that was it. So I told my brother that I was leaving the shop.
Yeah.
And by then, I already had the vineyard already producing. So,
Which vineyard? What are you talking about?
oh, well, in '97, I purchased this, and I mean in 2007.
No, 97.
I'm sorry, '97. I purchased this land and planted a vineyard
Nice.
as I was working in the body shop. So I commute
So the body shop was in what city again?
Santa Ana.
Santa Ana. And then you came out to Temecula and bought some land,
Right.
which prices were, was it fair price back then or
No,
amazing
it
prices?
was high. It was high
It was still high?
for the area,
Yeah.
but nothing compared to now. I think it's probably
Yeah.
double, a little more.
Probably even more.
So, but it was another carrot in front of me to grab. So I was very dedicated to. My passion was always farming,
Yeah.
and
So it's like a hobby slash
so
passion.
I wanted to have a tractor and a piece of land. After I decided that
I love that statement. I wanted a tractor and a piece of land.
yeah, it was.
of course.
I was like fascinated by going back to what my childhood
Yeah.
was. So
Did you ride tractors when in your childhood?
oh yeah,
So you were on farms.
I was born in a farm.
You were born in a farm. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to see. So you grew up on. You were born in a farm, grew up on a farm, and this was your life.
That was our life.
And when you came here, that was missing.
Well,
Until
yes,
you made
yes,
it.
because you miss some things that are very difficult to describe.
Yeah,
You know, the air, the smell, the pure air, to see the fields when they grow, that green color, my dog, my horse. There were a lot of things that for a kid growing in an area with no electricity, no running water,
yeah.
it was pure
Nature.
nature, and I miss that. So I try to kind of have good memories of what I used to do compared to how life is in here, right?
Which was all busy and money and headaches and
Yeah.
being in the middle of the night repoing cars.
Yeah.
You wanted the simple things in life.
So this is very also rewarding but very challenging,
Yeah,
and
but it's priceless.
it is right now because I got the blessing of having the new administration handling everything, which are my 3 kids.
Yeah.
They all work together here, and so far it's been very good, great actually.
But if I'm not mistaken, you originally did this privately. You didn't think this was going to be a business, right?
Well, yes, I started making wine with them, with the kids in our home in Lake Forest,
Yeah.
and it got to a point that after the 3rd harvest, I thought that I was ready to move on. I thought that I got this.
Yeah.
And is that when I decided to buy this piece of land?
So you had already started as a hobby in your home,
Making wine.
making wine, and then you said, you know what? Now I'm missing the land and the tractor.
Well, I was a member of the Orange County Wine Society,
Yeah.
and a beautiful group of people. And they were all homemade winemakers.
Yeah.
So we used the shop as a facility and the car wash to process the grapes. And then we will take our wines to the Orange County Fair for a homemade winemaking competition.
Yeah.
And I think it was '96, I got silver medal in one of my wines.
Nice.
So that
You were just messing around at home, and you're like, try this out, and you got silver.
That gave me more confidence. And then here we go. First harvest was 2002. Also, surprisingly, because they yield a lot of grapes, which I didn't expect.
Right.
So there were more product to process than we were prepared to.
Right.
So then 2003, I was more prepared. I bought some tanks. I began to take it more seriously because it wasn't a lot more grapes and juice and wine that I can probably drink or give away. I didn't know that the vines produce so much.
Right.
So we began to make our wine here, already with the name, and pull a license to produce wine.
Yeah.
But forgot to read the fine printing, and we got shut down in 2005, I think.
Yeah.
Was it 2005?
Somewhere in there, 05, 06.
And we were already in our way, almost very popular winery.
Yeah.
He's downplaying it. We were slinging wine out of a 4-car garage, and it was
booming.
It was a good time. It was just him and I in this 4-car garage.
How old were you at the time?
So I was in college by that time. So my timeline's a little bit different, right? So 2003, he has the heart attack on his Ducati at the racetrack. That he left that part out, but
yeah, I was gonna say that's like the most important part right
yeah,
there.
Dude, I mean,
Ducati racetrack, like what?
Yeah, this is a motorcycle
which I'm gonna
podcast.
get into
we
too.
haven't even talked about the bikes.
You guys ride?
Yeah, something like that. So hi everybody, I'm Damian. The 2003, he has a heart attack, and so it was my first year.
Well, in
college.
2003, he's on his Ducati in a racetrack.
Well,
was he racing at the time, or
It was a track day.
was it before or after he got on? Was it before or after?
During.
Did you crash?
No. I take
Wait. Let's slow this down. So let's slow this. Come on, Chico, por favor. All right. So you go to the racetrack. You take your Ducati.
Brand new. It was at 1.5 years old.
What kind of Ducati?
It's a 900 SS, which I still have.
Which you still have.
Yes.
Okay, you got it. Okay, so you went to the badass track because you're a badass with your badass tracksuit and your badass helmet, and then you went around the track, and then what happened? I mean,
no, well, I got up with a very interesting chest pain.
So you woke up that morning with the chest pain,
right? And it was track day, so I go, you know what?
Yeah,
I may be anxious.
Yeah, I'm riding today.
So me and my buddy went to the track, and I still have this pain, so I took some Tylenol.
Let me get this a little closer.
And I went out. The pain at the end of the turn one, at the end of the straightaway, I think was turn one to get into the infield. The pain was like killing, and then the rest of the track.
But when it's killing, what did you feel? You felt
Well,
like a heartburn?
No.
You felt a
It's
shortage
like
of air?
It's like an elephant sitting in your chest. It's like a pressure. It's horrible feeling. I took a Tylenol, went away.
Yeah.
I go out the second time, same scenario. I took more Tylenols, and so I survived.
Yeah.
So the next morning, I had a client who worked at a doctor's office. She came over for an estimate, and I mentioned my chest pain, and she instantly sent me to a cardiologist. And it was a blessing because I could have probably, had a bad.
Right.
But instantly they decided that I needed a surgery, so Damian took me on a Monday. And
so on the track, it was just you had these pains and you took Tylenol, and that's what barely got you through. The next day, they find out it's you're having heart condition.
yes.
So you went to surgery on that next Monday, and the track day was what, Saturday, Sunday? Saturday. So you went 2 days later. That's okay.
Quadruple bypass.
Quadruple bypass?
We took him in for an angiogram. They were just going to do the dye, and see.
Yeah.
And then they said, he's not leaving. And so then from there, we had to go into it was a frenzy that day because we took him in for the angiogram. They told him that he's not leaving and that he's having surgery the next day or Wednesday. They were going to schedule the quad bypass. So it gave us 1 day to get the living will and everything set up in case he didn't make it out of surgery. And he's
hard.
I'm sitting there and he's in ICU and he's giving me final instructions in case he doesn't make it out of surgery.
Oh my God.
Where he has things stashed and this guy, you got to go see this guy. You got to go do this. You got to do this. And, I'm the only boy. So I was getting all the final instructions in case he didn't make it out on the other side. Because that was a very real possibility at that time. I think you had over 90% blockage in 2 or 3 of them. So,
and random question: were you on the track that same day with him?
No, I was in college and I hadn't started track daying yet. I think he had just started restoring bikes, and we had always ridden as little kids, but the restorations didn't start until right around that era when he started making wine. He started restoring bikes about the same time, but we started racing together a little bit later on.
But we used to race karts.
Yeah, we were big into go-kart racing.
Go-karts?
We began with karts.
Every weekend we'd be at a racetrack, just him and I racing together.
What I mean, describe the go-karts.
I was a single dad. I was a single dad, so I didn't have anybody to tell me, no, you can't go to the track or can't do this.
Weekends you can't take your kids there,
right.
Yeah.
So weekends was like...
And why you're a single dad? Why were you a single dad? It just didn't work out? I want to know.
Well, no.
It just didn't work out?
The mother and I, we decided to part because things were not working for both of us.
Yeah, we had your differences.
And so later on, she took them to live with them, but a couple of years later, we make some different arrangements, and they come and live with me.
Yeah, awesome. So you had your kids, go-karts, and you would take them out?
And I was single.
And you were single. And you owned the winery. Congratulations. Sorry, miss. No, congratulations. That's awesome. So then you guys started off with go-karts, so you were doing whatever you wanted with your kids.
Practically, yes.
Yeah. It's a good feeling, huh?
Well, it is because they were my friends.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of fun things together.
Right.
The 4 of us.
Yeah, we all would. I mean, San Felipe, we'd go for a week or 2 weeks, and we all had a dirt bike. We all rode. We had a dune buggy. And
go-karts.
Yeah, and then we raced go-karts, and my sister raced a couple times. She won the powder puff race. Her first race out, we threw in a go-kart, and she crushed everybody.
That's so cool. Where do you race go-karts here?
Adams Kart Track. It's like iconic in the go-kart world. Adams Kart Track in Riverside. It's been there since the 50s. Family owned. They say if you can win at Adams, you can win anywhere because it's
like
very
the OGs.
difficult. Yeah, it just has a lot of interesting corners. Has a couple hairpins. It has
How fast are you guys going on these? Like 45, 50 miles an hour?
No, 60, 70, I think.
Oh, the straightaway, yes.
And then then when we got into shifter carts, you're hitting.
So this is not like the indoor,
It's that, but on steroids.
On steroids.
Right. So, I mean, full racing chassis. I mean, disc brakes.
What do one of those things cost?
Oh, now racing a go-kart you need a budget. I mean, it's a serious thing. When we were racing, it was right before it
picked up.
It was still serious.
It was a hobbyist thing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was still expensive to run up front, but I think right when we got out of it is when it got really expensive because nowadays they're changing out axles.
Oh, they have telemetry.
Yeah, it's like a small formula car.
Oh, telemetry?
Yeah, so they can tell wheel speed. They can tell how many G's you're pulling in the corner.
Throttle position.
Yeah, so they can
braking.
coach. Yeah, they can coach the driver on the fly.
It's ridiculous.
So the price is like 10, 15 times more.
It's full on. I mean, it's a pro series where they race for money. I mean, there's sponsors and there's a national. We're actually friends with the guy who puts on what's called the Super Nationals. They get Formula One drivers to come race go-karts.
Whoa!
We met Michael Schumacher at one of those races. We got to hang with Schumacher. And that was a treat to watch Schumacher race a go-kart, and he was just.
It sounds so cool, man.
Yeah, they started him in the back, and he was passing 6 to 7 go-karts a lap. And you have to imagine at that level, the go-karts, like from first place to last place, they're separated by less than a second. So you got 20 or 30 go-karts on track
One screws up, it's
nose
over.
to tail.
Yeah.
They're nose to tail racing and banging and and diving.
And
into each other.
are these things have like super bumpers all over the place?
No,
or
it's
no, these are like
open
race
wheel.
car.
It's open wheel. They have like long
Man, I
bumpers
gotta
that-
look this up.
Oh, this
No, the side pod protects the wheel is barely exposed.
the tops of the wheels are exposed.
Yeah.
So they flip.
Yeah.
They flip if they touch.
Any crazy flips you guys ever seen in person?
Oh, I've seen him save himself on a flip by putting a hand down and pushing himself back down. Yeah, like all the way over.
Yeah.
And then caught himself with a hand, pushed himself back over,
Oof.
and
At 60
finished.
miles?
And well, Monza. I mean, he got clipped in the corner, so it tipped him, but he saved it and finished the
Our
race.
buddy got hurt. Yeah, he was upside down, and even today he lost movement on his arm.
On his arm.
Yeah,
That's very unfortunate.
I know.
But he did it in something he loved.
I was
was
right
fun.
behind him when it happened.
Really?
I saw it. Yeah,
You guys were
they had
deep into
changed. Well,
this.
they had changed the berms at Adams. They had repaved the track, and there's a section at Adams. I'm sure all the local people who've raced there are supermotoed there. There's a supermoto class there now. The back
Is that the SoCal motor?
SoCal Supermoto.
Okay, I've been there. Yeah.
yeah. It's an awesome class. If
I
you've
talked
never
to
did-
Brian. I've had Brian
Yeah,
on.
Brian. So, but the back S's, when we used to race there, you could pretty much hit all the berms, go straight through it. So the S's were you were just floating over the berms.
Yeah.
And then you'd hit the last corner to the straightaway. So they repaved the track, and we had rented go-karts to go race, the three of us. And like second practice session out, Gabe goes through the S's and just hits one of the new berms, and they were like ramps, like they were just crazy,
Full on.
and it just sent him skyward, straight up 90 degrees.
Holy shit, that's
And
crazy.
so when he was coming back down, he put his arm out to catch himself, and his arm, got bent backwards, and it ripped a few ligaments in his arm.
Man.
Yeah,
That's
I
tough.
stopped and took the car off his body, because he was under the cart.
Isn't that the first thing they tell you in a track? Don't stop and help anyone. Isn't that rule number one?
Yeah, but it's
No,
like
no, I know,
he's
I
like
know.
a prodigal son for us.
I
you
know,
so
but that's still rule.
He's like
I
my
know,
dad's
I
prodigal
know.
son.
But I pulled over a little bit and I got off the cart and
it-
got, because the gas tank was dripping, and it was probably any moment.
That's why it's rule number one. Because you could have got like messed up. No, I'm kidding. I'm
No.
sure it made the
And-
world of a
and
difference.
Originally, I thought it was Damian because I was behind both of them. So
Yeah.
we took off.
So your son was beating you?
Normally.
Of course.
He's
you
fast.
made him.
No,
You
he's
made
fast.
him.
Don't let him fool you. He's fast.
No, it was fun. It was fun.
How much? You said you helped them pull the cart off. How much do these carts usually weigh?
Like what? Like 200-300 pounds?
No, man. 180, 160.
Okay.
Depends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, and they go that fast. That must be so much fun.
Yeah.
That must be so much fun.
It is.
It's the most visceral thing you can drive. A shifter cart 125 at Adams is visceral.
It's manual?
It's sequential gearbox right next to the steering wheel. So it's
cool.
And it's
That
you're
sounds
pulling 3 G's through the corner. I mean, they're stupid. It's
I'm gonna set up an
look, it
interview
makes
with them.
the hair on my hand
bro, are
stand
you
up,
kidding?
dude.
I
I
haven't
swear to
even
God,
done it.
a shifter cart at Adams track is your ribs. You end up with swollen ribs because it just
That's cool.
it beats the hell out of you. But it's the fastest accelerating thing you could drive.
And you shift like 80 times
a lap.
per minute.
Holy,
Yeah, the lap is a minute.
the lap is a
and
minute,
change.
and you shift 80 times.
Downshift and shift, it's
Of course.
constant.
How many turns?
I think it was at 13 turns at Adams, something like that, 13 or 16 or something like that. I don't know. I haven't raced there in a long time. Haven't counted, but I know it's in the teens for sure.
That's amazing.
There's a couple corners that are first gear turns though, so you go like,
Yeah, you're flying through
you're
gears,
flat out.
up and down.
Imagine a 2-stroke 125, either a YZ or a CR 125.
Oh, that sounds so.
With a big old pipe and the whole deal, and they just
Lucky you guys.
Oh, they just scream.
Great job.
Yeah, there's nothing better.
Great job. Okay, so now we're in 2003. He has this happen, and then in the business, you guys started wine, and you were slanging it out of the garage. He's downplaying it, but you're going to tell me exactly what was happening.
Well, it's just a different perspective, right? Like we're picking up some feedback, huh?
Yeah, I'm wondering. Hold on one second. Okay, we fixed that. So,
So it was just 2003, and he had just come out of the heart attack. So he was, from my perspective and from what I've heard, is that he was coming out here to work on the vineyard as therapy.
yeah.
He had a wild idea to play classical music for the vines. And it actually, it is therapeutic. When you work in the vineyard very early in the morning and you hear the classical music and you got the hot air balloons coming up overhead, and
Oh my
Temecula
God.
has a layer of fog, and especially in the growing season, we get this little marine layer. Partly why it's a wine country in this, it's a very small valley of grapes here in Southern California. And so it's totally therapeutic. And so the story that, as I see it, was he was here working on the vineyard as therapy, and people would drive by on the main road, see the vineyard and the house, because you can see it from Rancho California, which is the main drag. And from the road, it kind of looks, it's a ranch style house. It kind of had a vineyard and it has some palm trees. So people would pull into the driveway and ask for wine tasting, and you'd have this guy saying, "Well, I'm not a winery. I make wine though, and I could use a break." And he'd bring people into the kitchen and
And then hang out.
and bootleg some wine out of the kitchen. The story, the way I tell it, is if he could make some money for some gas money, because he was commuting in from Orange County,
Yeah.
by selling a bottle
Mission
of wine,
accomplished, yeah.
his day was free. And then he started handing out his cell phone number. It took me years to get people to call the business number, because he had given his cell phone number out to so many people.
Yeah. They're like, we're not calling this business.
Yeah, and so it'd be like
I'm still getting calls.
Stop calling. Stop calling
It'd be
them.
9:00 at night, and they'd call and he'd answer, and they'd ask him a wine club question.
You loved it, huh? You loved it.
The beginning were beautiful, very intense,
Yeah.
incredibly intense. But when we begin to see the results and people respond to the wines that we were making, then it was like, seriously, we need to really take this more.
We need to get it to the next level.
Dug our heels in a little bit.
Hold on, but
But,
before you get it to the next level, I have a lot of random questions. When you were coming here just as therapy, and people were driving and they saw you, and you were meeting a lot of people, right? What's more or less?
Well, the neighbors and people that
What's the craziest people you ever met? What's the funniest or craziest thing you've ever seen during that time?
no, well,
Or everything was pretty normal?
well, it was pretty normal up to the moment when the word was out that we had a winery, and limousine were coming over, and it was
Limousine? What do you
It was
mean?
crazy.
What do you mean?
And back
The tours, the groups come in tours.
And they would just pull in without calling or anything?
Yeah, they would just show up, group
Yeah.
of 8,
It was-
10
it was
bachelorettes.
there were moments that this was crazy, and people throwing up on the road and going
no.
into the vineyard. Is that why? I guess the neighbors one neighbor was not happy about it, and is that why we got shut
So
down?
it got out of control. There was just one point that it got out of control.
It didn't get out of control.
Temecula.
But
No, it was. We were a super mild case. I mean,
Yeah.
it just rubbed the neighbors the wrong way that they had a winery at the end of the road. Because we live in our community is only 19 houses on this neighborhood, and so you had a vineyard winery at the end of the street. And we just got lucky to be on the street side.
Right.
On the frontage. So it pissed a few of them off, and they banded together to pretty much go after. He kind of got hit double fold. So the association that manages the Wine Growers Association of the Valley, you have to imagine that 06, 07, it was real estate boom,
Yeah.
right? So that's right before the crash,
Right.
when
Of 08.
real estate was going just bonkers.
Yeah.
So the association,
Zero down.
yeah. So the association that the growers and the wineries belong to kind of put their elbows up, and they started pushing the county to lay a zoning ordinance over wine country, kind of setting the ground rules of like how you become a winery. And unfortunately, versus being inclusive. They were kind of exclusive towards him, particularly, even because he was operating. They very much could have said, "Hey, get your plot plan and get this, and you're included."
Right.
You know, but they threw the book at him. They threw the county at us. They threw the ABC at us. And then when that started happening, the neighbors jumped on board, and all the public hearings and everything like that. The neighbors.
So everybody was against you guys.
Pretty much. Because he was a rogue, and he was, and the thing is that,
and he was successful at it.
well, he was also wasn't shy about pricing, right? And so when the rest of the valley was at like a $20 price point, here you get this guy out of a 4-car garage, you know, doing $40-$50 bottles of wine, and so that kind of rubbed people the wrong way that, you know, we were getting that kind of price point for the wine. When the rest of the valley wasn't, and we didn't even have an approved plot plan for a winery. We were just a house.
What was it? What made you price it at 50, and why do you think you were successful at selling it at that price?
Because
How did you figure out your pricing? What made you
because if you don't make an impact, even to
create value?
create value, also to have people talk, even if they talk negative.
Yeah.
But I had a product that it was worth that money.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was the fair thing to do for me to sell it at the price that I thought that it was worth it, because I was heavily involved
That
in
was the
wines.
value for you, and that was your time.
Yeah, back in those days, I used to buy Chateau Margaux for $320 a bottle.
Yeah.
So I thought that my wines was very compatible. And when I noticed that people were responding to, I knew that it wasn't that wrong. So I guess other wineries were not happy about that.
May I ask what your background was in education?
Well, I did not finish high school.
Okay.
So I guess I went 3 years in high school and I stopped because I thought that I already knew enough to survive.
I know it all.
Well, you know, when
Yeah.
you're ambitious and you have a lot of dreams,
Of course.
and my parents never
School can't teach that.
Yeah, my parents never object that, because I thought that I think they probably expect me to continue the line of work in the farm.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for me the way it was structured.
Right.
So I moved to the city, and then later on they come to live with us at the city, and they rented the farm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ask because I know many successful businessmen that the education, you know, the traditional education's not there, but the common sense and value, and more than anything, the passion was there and the vision was there, and they're more successful than most people, and I'm talking about super successful. Yeah, and this is why I wanted to ask.
The drive is something that he doesn't mention. Like he says he's retired, but he's not retired. He's still in the mix, and he still, you know, brings tremendous value to the team and to what we're doing, and to the entire organization, you know.
But for him to use the word retire and for you to take over the position, you sent me that video. That wasn't always the case. He didn't want to retire or even have you take over, right? Actually, I don't want to hear your story. I heard it on the video. Go watch the video, guys. Yeah. I want to hear your story.
What video?
The American Dream, the one that we filmed of you in the barrel room.
So were you making it difficult for him to run the business, or did you not want him to run the business, or did you know he was going to run the business, but you wanted him to be more prepared? What was the mentality? Like, at what point were you like, oh my God?
Well, I never doubt.
Damian's going to take over.
No, I never doubt that he can run it.
Yeah.
But when you're in your early 20s,
Yeah.
you know, there are certain things that I did the same thing pretty much. And,
Right.
And so I think the biggest part for me was to lose control, because I'm kind
Of
of
the operation, the finances.
the finances, I hold his hand forever. Even today, we both
Go
talk
over the
about
finance, yeah.
But
Forever. All right, you're not getting out of that, bro.
The perpetuity.
It is. But I think it's part of the guidance that, based on my years of experience, I can probably provide.
Yeah.
To not to be making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
That some people do when they're younger. But I never doubted that they can run it.
What kind of just for giggles, what kind of mistakes? What do you see? I know 20-year-olds are knuckleheads, they're screw ups, they do silly things. But what were the biggest mistakes that you were was there
I don't know,
anything you had in mind?
Buying a Land Rover that you can't afford.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
getting into debts.
right. So
That makes sense.
when you're young, you want it all.
Right.
So I learned this hard way too. But thank God that now things are working the way they should be, and they're all putting their effort to. And now I sincerely don't want to be in his shoes.
Yeah.
Because
in today's time?
Well, and everything, because we start, I don't know, we got to a point where we're making, I don't know, 2,000 cases, and it was overwhelming.
2,000 cases
of wine.
But a month?
A year.
A year.
And now he's probably 3 times that or more, so we don't have any employees, and now I find out the other day that we are about 40.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit of a chain.
Yeah.
We went from a 3-person
operation.
It was, he did the farming, I did the winemaking, and then our then stepmom, or his wife, was the front of the house. You know, so she did the admin, she did, the wine club and everything else. And when we first were allowed to open, so when we got shut down, we went through a 3-year legal battle to kind of be open. 28 months or so.
3 years, jeez.
It was, the better part of 2.5 years.
3 years and $1.4 million.
Is that it? Wow.
So it was pretty nasty. And so we reopened, and one of the conditions that they placed on us when we reopened was we could only open 3 days a week, by appointment only, no limos, no buses, no events, no.
What was up? Was it COVID or something?
Yeah, it felt like it. So he agreed. He signed his life away. We agreed. We let us open. And I would say that first year and a half of operating 3 days a week was really difficult. I mean, we were 2 miles away from the last winery on the road. There was no signage for us. There was nothing.
That was part of the deal, no signage?
Well, we just weren't on the maps. We were the new kid in town. And the appointment only really restricted people. We had a couple pieces of property of friends of ours that would let us put a sign on their corner. But the appointment only verbiage deterred a lot of people. They need to get the people that were kind of adventurous.
Well, of course, back then, it's not like you can go on Google and be like, hey, where's a winery? Let me set up an appointment.
I mean, you're talking...
People are driving here.
2007, 2008. So, I mean, it still existed. And
but not like that. People drove out here because they wanted to drink
and they were just
wine.
exploring.
Yeah.
Exploring. So it's like...
Well, they will give you a little map.
Yeah.
All the winery had a map.
Right.
So you
circle.
You circle, but we were not able to be on the map for a long time.
Yeah.
So we bought a Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I don't know how you came across a Pathfinder, through the body shop or something, like a lean sale or something. And we had this big vinyl sign made, and we'd park the Pathfinder on the corner closest to the biggest winery, and drape the sign over the Pathfinder until we got a code enforcement violation for illegal signage. Fine, we'll move it. We just leave it parked all weekend.
How long was it there for?
Oh, we would move it out every weekend. So Friday night.
I know, but how long before you got that?
Oh, for a good year. I mean, we let it ride for a while.
Yeah.
Even after the violation, we're like, we'll move it. And we just kept putting it up. Because they can't enforce, there's, first of all, code enforcement doesn't really work on Saturdays.
Was it on private property or anything?
Yeah, but it violates the signage. So in order to have a sign on that piece of property, you actually have to have a land lease, and it has to be
these guys,
titled. Huh? So, I mean, we went back. I think, being through that whole battle through the county and getting through it, we kind of learned the way the system works a little bit. And so the right contributions were made to the right political campaigns. And all of a sudden we had a hearing in front of the board again, and we got all the restrictions lifted off of us.
No, also the rest of the wineries, I think, understood that we were serious. We're not doing anything illegal because to go against anything. It was just the rules changed, and I guess the county wanted to show off
like
with
an
me
example or
and
something.
set an example. But after they realized that, I try to comply 100%, and I guess.
So pretty much they made you as an example. They put you on a probation that you pretty much, right? Like a probation where you guys had to
The
like
probation was kind of to comply with the neighbors, to keep the neighbors happy.
And that lasted for a year and a half.
We went back, I think a year change later, got in front of the hearing and then asked to be open 7 days a week. And that's when the business changed.
Yeah.
Like the going from a 3-day a week retail to a 7-day a week retail and open for business, it changes. Now you need to hire somebody, because we still, before in the old model, Monday through Thursday, we could get all of our production done. We could, you didn't have people on site. And then transitioning to 7 days a week, having somebody on site, or having the potential to have somebody on site, you need to man the tasting room,
Right.
But it was worth it. I think that, I remember when we'd have a $3,000 day, we'd go to sushi and celebrate that we sold $3,000 in wine.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge accomplishment for us. And it was just 3 of us selling wine. And then we slowly started integrating the family members, and it was a really cool day. The early days were awesome. The little 4-car garage, he had built a counter, and the energy in there would be crazy sometimes. The music would be rocking, and you'd be shoulder to shoulder, 2 people deep at the bar trying to buy wine, and you'd look left and you'd see, like, I'd see my dad with 4 or 5 couples, doing wine tasting, and the counter's full of wine that he's selling. You look to your right, and I'd see my sisters also, each with a counter full of people, and we built counter everywhere. Anywhere we could put a bar to serve you wine, we built little makeshift counters. We packed this little 800 square foot garage.
Where's the garage now?
It's our current tasting room. It's still there.
So the tasting
we just
room's
made
the
it look.
garage.
Yeah, we just made it look prettier now. It was cool before, and then we turned. My sister Bridget does all of our design, our apparel now. We have an apparel line now and stuff like that. And she's an incredible artist, design. She just has this design eye and aesthetic. I always say she's the keeper of cool for us. And
that's cool.
So we didn't have the heart to tear down the original building. My dad built that by himself in 2004. And then when we got busted and shut down, he had to remodel it to pass, to become a tasting room. And then as we wanted to kind of update the aesthetics of the property, neither 3 of the kids had the heart to say, hey, if we tear it down and build something new, none of us, that wasn't even on the table, because it got suggested to us. It was like, well, if you tear everything down, your dad's going to lose the emotional connection to it, and he'll let go finally. And,
right.
And then so we fired that guy. We're like, you don't get us. You're done. So then,
especially with a statement like that, who would say such a thing?
Well, exactly. He was just trying to say, like, the emotional attachment to the building.
Right.
If you tear it down, the emotional attachment disappears, and you can build a functioning winery. Because right now it's the house, the original house, with the 4-car garage that he built right next to it. And so if you look at it with like one eye open, you can kind of see, it's still the house with that. And even so, the house is now all the offices. And
but that's what people like. I mean, personally, that's what I like. Like when I travel, I do a lot of traveling, but when I travel back home, to Cuba, you still eat in people's houses. There's no restaurants, there's a few restaurants, but you go into a home and they set up a living room and a kitchen, and the family members are making the food for you, and it's a beautiful experience. I think that has more value than a typical, winery or a typical club or
a fake Tuscan, one that looks like the Olive Garden, right?
Exactly.
I just feel like there's so many that just look like, even the fake veneer and stuff like that. It's just
it's so cheesy.
Olive Garden. Yeah.
It's so cheesy. I got to jump into this because for me, this is the most important thing. Where did the thing come from? This motorcycle thing. There's motorcycle posters. There's motorcycles, on top of you, under you, all along the sides. Where did that come from? Where did that start? Was that the original idea?
No.
Or
it's not a theme. That's the best part about it, that it never came about it as like, hey, we're going to do this.
Are these fake motorcycles?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny. Some of the Yelp reviews, like, oh, it's like, I had somebody say that it was just a gimmick.
A facade.
Like, yeah, 250 motorcycles into it, and it's a facade. Yeah, come on. But
no, what's
for
the
it,
story?
Dad. Get into it.
No, well,
do you like motorcycles?
I'm fascinated by motorcycles. They're my passion.
Yeah.
I can spend hours in my shop, and when my back hurts, then I go back to the house. But
drink some wine and then come back out.
I was very little. I was probably 8 or 7, 9, I don't know, when one of our relatives show up with a motorcycle. I used to see them going by, but we live in the rural area, away from each other. The town was like 5 miles from the house. But they were always around, and I began to have this interest for the bikes.
Yeah.
And then on the 60s, the prettier Italian small CC bikes show up to Argentina. And for a short period of time, they were able to import Italian bikes, because Italians are a very big part of our society, and Argentina is full of immigrants from Italy.
Yeah.
So, and that really, I think, touched my heart. The first day that I saw a 175 Ducati Sport, golden paint with candy apple red, shiny chrome,
beautiful
jelly mold tank. It was like, wow, this is, and I'm so fascinated by the bike that now I have like 15 of them.
Yeah.
Because they're unique in a way. And later on, we needed to transport me and my brother to school, so my parents and my uncle decided to buy a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It was cheaper and more efficient to take us to school. And that was pretty much the beginning of my desire to be with a motorcycle all the time.
So how old were you when you had your first motorcycle that you rode all the time? What was your age?
Well, it was that particular bike that then when I was able to reach the floor.
The floor. So you were like 13.
Probably 12.
12, 13.
But
did you have your license? I'm kidding.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but the most, I never forget the feeling of letting go of the clutch.
Yeah.
And that thing start rolling on its own, because I had a bicycle all my life.
Yeah.
And then, yes.
No. So who taught you? Like they just told you manually, okay, this is your clutch, this is your gas, and then you just jumped on the first time?
I knew the bike.
Oh, you knew. Yeah.
Since the day we bought it.
Right.
And when the bike was parked inside of our bedroom. And it was my grandfather, myself, and me, and my uncle. And the bike was tied to the back part of the grandpa bed.
Yeah.
Because the old man will get up and take a leak in the middle of the night, and my uncle was afraid it was going to tumble off the bike.
Right.
So the bike was there by my bed. So every night I look at it, I touch it, and when they leave town, I will fire up inside of the bedroom.
How funny.
And
breathing all the gas.
Two-stroke inside the house. And he still fires up motorcycles inside the house.
That's so
and back
funny.
then it was 30-weight oil that we used on the mix.
Yeah,
so
the two-stroke was terrible.
There wasn't two-stroke oil. It was just regular oil, so they burn and they smoke.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Your mom must have. Your mom never.
Oh, I was allowed to do all those things.
Yeah.
And so I knew the bike. I was already involved. And one day I just took off. And then it became my bike. And I sold it when I went to the Army. And then I went back to Argentina to look for it.
So you were in the Army in Argentina?
Yes.
Nice.
And I found two of them. So they're both in our collection.
So you bought two motorcycles. You found those motorcycles, and you have it in your collection now. Oh, identical.
Yes.
And you have nice. That's awesome.
The other cool bike that he went back, he mentioned. Tell him about the Gilera. That's an amazing story.
Later on, when I went back to my hometown, I noticed that this older brothers have this Gilera that I used to see going by my farm when I grew up.
Yeah.
They bought the bike in 1948. So the bike was there before I was born.
Right.
So as I grew up, I remember the noise. I remember seeing the two heads going by the road.
The two headlights.
No,
The heads of the guys.
the two brothers
Yeah.
riding.
Yeah.
And it was so loud. So eventually I tried to negotiate. It took me like 2 years. And finally I got the bike. It was already beat up, pretty much a basket case. But it was very meaningful to have that particular bike.
Yeah.
So I had it restored in Argentina. And eventually we brought it back. So now it's in my living room.
That is awesome. In your living room.
Yes.
That bike has a really cool story. So he used to see as a little kid.
Yeah.
We have the original sales receipt he has the original receipt of sale from 1948 on the bike.
What's the price?
I don't know what.
I think back then it was probably $200.
$200.
The equivalent to $200.
Yeah, it's a
how much?
Gilera. It's a Gilera Saturno 500. So it's a 500cc single. It's a big bike. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a little motorcycle, and so he has his cousin restore it, who's a motorcycle mechanic in Argentina, and restores it. Does a 100-point restoration on the bike. Beautiful. Then he had a girlfriend in Argentina that he would stash bikes
How many
with.
girlfriends did you have, sir?
Let's not get into that. That's a whole different podcast.
That's a second
episode
podcast.
2. But situation changes with the girlfriend, and she sequesters the bikes and was holding him ransom. It was that one in a Harley.
Sequestra. She kidnaps the bike.
She kidnaps the bike.
Hilarious.
She hides the bike from him and starts demanding money. It was that and it was a Harley Davidson. I remember it was a black Harley Davidson, like a 1947 Harley that supposedly was owned by Perón, the president.
Really?
It was loosely linked or something like that, right, Dad? I mean, what was
Where'd you get that? You bought it from his ex-girlfriend?
No.
from Perón's ex-girlfriend, from Evita?
I found them in Buenos Aires, and it was running, and it was very pretty. So
it was a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Suicide shift, the whole thing.
So then we recovered the Gilera.
Yeah, he says recovered, but what he means is he broke into a shed with lock cutters and found it.
I didn't broke into the shed.
This is just between us. Don't worry.
Nobody's gonna hear.
Nobody's gonna hear this. No, how did you find it?
My buddy who lives here was in the city in Argentina, so I go, come with me and let's recover this Gilera.
Yeah.
So we went
Back
to
to
her
his
house.
repo
So your ex wanted money, and you're like, nah.
No, well, we kind of had an agreement, but it wasn't settled.
Yeah.
So I
didn't shake hands.
I went to the house.
Yeah.
And I back up a little truck that I had in Argentina, pulled the bike out, and there was this guy in a bicycle and a little girl riding. It was almost on the sunset time. And I stopped in front of him. I go, stop. Help me load this bike. And the guy got off the bicycle, put the little girl on the sidewalk, helped us put the bike on the track. And
That's
we took
hilarious.
off.
That's so cool.
We took off.
Straight to the port.
Yeah.
Container seal.
Did you convince like, hey, this is my ex, she stole my motorcycle, or no questions? Just
No. The guy said, "All we need is you to give us a hand." So he gave us a hand, and we took off.
yeah.
So when that bike gets to the States, we get a phone call from Pebble Beach, the concourse. And I fielded a phone call, and they said, hey, we know you have this motorcycle. We've seen photos of the bike. And if you are willing to send us these very detailed photos, they wanted photos of the engine number, the VIN, registration if we had it, blah, 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 a bunch of stuff. And the bike ended up in Pebble Beach, and it placed at the concourse in Pebble Beach. So I just think that bike, it has one of the coolest stories in the collection, because from it seen in his childhood to, to being held ransomed, and then to, the cousin doing the restoration. And I mean, it has just layers on layers of cool stories about that particular motorcycle in the collection. So that's why we put it on one of the wine labels.
Oh, did you guys put it on one of the wine labels?
Yeah.
Which wine?
It was the Gran Tinto.
Gran Tinto?
Yeah, the Gran Tinto. We have in the Moto Doffo side of the lines of wines that we make.
That's another question. Doffo, the name. Where did the name come from?
We are Italians from the north of Italy. My grandfather came to Argentina in 1903
Yeah.
from a little town called Porto Recanati in the Adriatic Sea on the province of Marche.
Wow. And that's where the name came from?
Yeah,
That was
his last name.
That was
So
the
I don't know
Doffo
where it
last
came
name.
from, but
Yeah. So
we
Doffo-
look back to two generations.
Doffo, because it sounds Italian, but then it also sounds like Doffo. Yeah, it's got to be Italian. Yeah. I'm not questioning. I'm just
The Doffos in Italy don't talk to us, though. They want nothing to do with us.
why?
I have no idea.
I don't know. They think you go back to claim some property or something.
Yeah.
They're a little. But no, I found one that it was okay. But we correspond on internet.
Yeah. So they have a Doffo winery as well, or
No.
no?
No,
They just have something.
It's just the
different.
last name,
Yeah.
like going back to the roots, trying to connect. Because he goes to Italy pretty often.
Argentina is interesting because there is the whole Italian thing, and then there's there was a lot of Nazis there too, right? Isn't Hitler Hitler was there?
Perón was selling passports to the Nazis,
Perón was selling it to them.
right? That's
well, I don't know if we're selling it, but a lot of them end up in southern Argentina.
In southern Argentina,
There's a big community now.
Córdoba in the mountains, right, Dad?
Yes,
is
Cordoba in the south.
Was Hitler there? Because I heard there's a lot of museums.
Is he still alive? Are you
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
With Bigfoot and Elvis? I know.
They're
Are
all
they in
hanging-
Argentina?
hanging out with Tupac?
I knew
right
this.
there.
But they right? But they had I heard they have a lot of museums out there. Well, obviously, but they sell like Nazi
Well, and where I don't know about Nazis. I don't know about that,
like
but I know
medallions and stuff
there's
like that.
German
Just-
schools. Like in the school, there's a whole German school system
yeah.
that they teach you how to speak German. And then in Córdoba, in the mountains of Córdoba, there's a town that's super Dutch. It's crazy. Like they have Oktoberfest and stuff like that. And
Whoa.
and I mean, and it's very
That's
much
what I'm saying.
like
It's so interesting. It's,
dude, it has like the wooden, like all the
yeah, the dome, whatever they call it, and they party
the
and
whole
drink.
architecture and stuff like that, and the beer
Yeah.
gardens and stuff. It's a trip,
No,
but they all
yeah.
speak perfect Spanish.
I know.
And then there's the Korean immigration to Argentina too. So then you get like Korean Argentinians,
Yeah.
which trip you out.
I know we have Chinese Cubans, and that it's such a trip. Like, oye chico, like what? What did you say? I don't understand. But it's there. It's part. It's the human race. Period.
Yeah, we found one of those at the track. Remember?
Oh yeah, we
were
were doing a track day, and there's like a group of Asian guys, and all of a sudden they look over at us and they start speaking perfect Spanish, and it just flew.
with Argentinian accent.
Yeah, so we had a group of Argentinians at the track, all of us together, and it just floored us. And then they became part of the group with us,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So then you had your winery, you started buying your motorcycles, you started collecting it, and now you have 250 motorcycles. How many motorcycles do you have here? More or less?
252, I think.
Did you keep every motorcycle you ever bought?
I sold a few, but very, very few.
Yeah.
If you read the Bible, it says that you should never sell your motorcycle.
The Bible.
In the Bible, say.
Yeah.
But I got rid of a few bikes that I lost interest in.
But you kept most of them. I mean, you kept.
Yes.
And this is a lifetime of collecting bikes.
It is pretty much, because it's been, 20 years, 22 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. You inspired me, and I'm sure you inspired many listeners. Buy your motorcycles and keep them. Don't sell them. A lot of people I know, always regretted selling their first motorcycle. So that's awesome that you got the two passions. Talking about the winery now, what can people expect? What do you offer? What's the experience when somebody comes here? What are they going to see? How would you describe everything here now today?
They're definitely going to see motorcycles. I mean,
they're going to see wine and motorcycles.
Yeah, I mean,
but do you guys have?
They're everywhere. We view them as art. So for us, the more motorcycles we can display, and every building is just more wall space for motorcycles. We have custom racks made to put motorcycles up on walls and bolt them to the floor, and and everywhere we can put motorcycles, we do. But I think what makes us unique in the Temecula Valley, yes, the motorcycles is definitely a factor, but the main focus for the first 20 years that we made wine and we did this, we never did the big pretty building. We never did the hotel, the restaurant, all the weddings, all the other stuff. We focused 100% on quality of wine. And so the first 20 years, all we did was reinvest into production and how do we make better wine? And that was my big focus when I came on board, was how do we continue to improve what we're doing? We started making wine with no tools. We had no equipment, no nothing. And, we shared equipment with the winery across the street and another small winery. We had all of the equipment on a trailer. And you'd be processing fruit and you'd get the phone call from the other winery saying, hey, I got fruit coming in. I need the processor. And we'd load it on the trailer and trailer it over, drop it off, and go pick it up the next morning when we were processing again. So we slowly started, building our production line and buying the equipment and the steam generators and the barrel washers. And so now we're one of the most well-equipped wineries in the valley. We do stuff that no other wineries do. We triple sort the fruit. We don't crush. We use a very gentle pump. Like the pump that we use 30 days out of the year is equivalent to a few of his vintage bikes.
Right.
It's a very expensive piece of equipment that you only use 30 days of the year, but the commitment to quality is that. And it makes sense if you're committing to that quality level. So we focused so much on quality, and for us, it was very important to make the best red wine in the valley. And so we've picked up that accolade. We won that competition a few times. We won Best Red in the Valley. We won Winery of the Year, all with a 4-car garage, 800 square foot 4-car garage.
That's amazing. That truly is amazing.
And now we have our production building and stuff like that, but out of a tiny little space, and we were going up against these wineries with multi-million-dollar facilities and professional winemakers, and but our lab was well equipped. Our equipment is some of the best out there. We're doing processes that other people won't do. We farm.
But that's now like I got a question. If I was to open up a winery today, I would want like the best equipment, like what you guys have. I don't think I would.
How deep are your pockets?
Right, exactly, and exactly that's
how
the
deep
point.
Are your pockets?
I think that there's a romance about having that 800 square foot garage and starting that way. I think if you guys wouldn't have done it that way, and you had to start today, this probably wouldn't be around. It's just,
It doesn't have the same feeling.
it doesn't have the same feeling. It doesn't have the history, the value, the quality, this is something that came over generation, and you can't, I mean, that again, that's priceless. That's very priceless.
The passion is palpable. When you come here, that's what I think you feel. I think that with the motorcycles, and since we're very proud of the last name, we're very proud of what we do. And I carry I carry that burden now of making sure that the wine is top notch. And
don't mess it up now.
No, dude. Before bottling, I don't sleep. Legit. Like I still get nervous, and I've been doing it for several years now, and I still get nervous before. It gets to a point where you start obsessing about the wine right before you bottle it, right before it goes into the product, and trying to make these final. It's like racing. I compare it to racing where, right before the race, especially since we race vintage, we're always in the carburetor trying to like eke out the perfect jetting to optimize the bike.
Right.
And same thing with bottling wine. I mean, right up until that wine goes into the bottle, you can make a last minute Hail Mary if you need to. And we've done it. I mean, there's been days where the bottling line, because it's a mobile bottling line, $1 million semi pulls in with this beautiful stainless steel bottling line. You hook up to it and it knocks out your bottling, and then it disconnects and it leaves, And we've been bottling wine, and the tank right next to it's next in line to go into the bottling line, and we're making adjustments 20-30 minutes before it goes out.
That's wild.
Wow. I try not to do that anymore. I mean,
right.
Usually that's an extreme circumstance, right? But I've gotten better at timing of production, logistics, and everything. It's a big logistics funnel to get to bottling.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of coordinating, especially now. It's
I'm
different.
sure there's more machinery, there's more employees, there's
labels,
more workers.
corks, capsules, supply chain.
When I think about making wine, all I think about is the old days, people stepping on the grapes and stuff. What is the process of making wine? How does it start off?
Well, definitely we don't step on the grapes anymore.
Why not?
Unless you pay for that experience.
Well,
I'll sell you that experience all day long.
No, because we ferment the fruit whole. We don't squash the grapes or anything. So it's
but what like how long does it take for the grapes to grow, and then you guys harvest it?
One harvest a year. So it starts with farming.
One harvest a year.
It starts with farming,
right?
And really I would say the most critical part of winter, like this time that we're in right now, is what we're currently doing in the vineyards, which is pruning. And pruning the vineyard is where you protect the longevity of the vineyard. Because if you hire any random labor guy to go in and cut the vines back, they cut them back. But there's an art to pruning a vineyard and to keeping, and we're very focused on that because we look at this as a 100-year investment. Like I view the health of the vineyard that my kids have to have this vineyard. Right. So I mean that's what we're a family legacy piece, and we're already on the second generation, and third generation's already working. We have
that's amazing.
My niece and nephew are bussing glasses, and they're back of the house staff.
Yeah.
Running glass and running, helping, wearing the shirt, Yeah,
doing whatever they can.
So they
participating.
And so that even adds another layer of pressure for me to say, hey, I got to make sure that the G3 can run this thing. So, but pruning is essential because you can be very detrimental to the longevity of the vineyard if you prune incorrectly.
Right.
So pruning's, I would say,
primary
up there. Then you get bud break March-ish. Like in a few weeks here, we'll see.
Like soon?
Yeah, very soon we'll start the growing season, and then the clock starts for us. As soon as you see bud break, the winemaker in you goes, damn, I'm on the clock, and here it comes. Before you know it, it's harvest. So we harvest in September typically.
At what point do you play the classical music?
All year long.
All year long.
365.
That's awesome.
And if it's not on, he'll let me know.
Do the neighbors say anything? Or it's not
We had one neighbor ask us to turn it down.
Yeah.
because in the middle of the night, if you listen carefully from his house, you can definitely hear it because he lives 2 doors up.
Yeah.
But you can definitely hear it in the middle of the night.
That's so awesome. So romantic, so enjoyable.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's awesome, dude. I'm telling you.
And then here you
waking
can
up-
see the stars all perfect, right?
Oh yeah, the evenings and the nights are perfect. This is a great area.
It's a bubble.
Yeah.
The Temecula Valley is a bubble in Southern California like no other. People say when they come here, you get lost in Temecula time because there's nothing like it in the area. You know?
That's what I meant by my question earlier. What can people expect here? They're going to see motorcycles, great tasting wine, the environment, the wine club. Do you guys lodge? Do you not lodge? Do you guys plan out the whole day? Or is there events? Can you throw an event?
All of the above. So everything that you just mentioned, we do a derivative of. We have different experiences. You can do a tour. And what's cool about the tours, it's either myself, my dad, or my sister who do the tours.
Who does it better?
Definitely the gangster.
That's right. I would imagine.
He's the best.
I no offense. I wouldn't want a tour from you.
Oh.
I'll go drinking with you. We
Yeah.
can go anywhere, but
Yeah.
I'd want the tour right here.
Yeah. No, he does an amazing job. And then my sister has her flair. You know, we always tell her, like, hey, make sure you don't embellish. Like, just whatever you do, just make sure that you stay within the lines because she has her version of things that happen.
Yeah. She's going to be like, I designed this,
Yeah,
that. You don't worry about anything else.
She's awesome. She does.
Yeah.
She has a great flair to it. And then, so we do the tours, we do tastings. Because of COVID, we did a pivot. We have a food company now, so we have a in-house catering company. So now we have a pop-up grill on the weekends. We make our homemade chimichurri, which is very Argentine.
Super Argentine.
Yeah,
Love it.
The chimichurri is a huge hit. And so on the weekends, we do like tri-tip and chimichurri over French fries, or a tri-tip sandwich with chimichurri and derivatives of. Then we have one guest suite. Well, we have a master suite that used to be his master bedroom that opens out to the winery, opens up out to the vineyard. And it's only available to wine club members. So our whole thing is our wine club members are an extension of our family, and we try to treat them as such. And so when they're here, they're part of the family, and we try to, we're very much open-armed, and, we embrace a lot of people and just say, hey, thank you for supporting our passion, and we're going to treat you like family when you're here.
How many people are in the winery club?
Amongst all the 3 clubs, we're probably in the 3,000 range.
Holy shit! And this is all across the country, all across the world,
across the nation.
The nation.
Shipping internationally gets a little tricky.
And what does the winery club consist of, for the people that don't know the plans?
So the wine club, it's a subscription model. So you get on the biggest club, it's 3 shipments of 4 bottles. Prices average about $200 to $225 per shipment plus shipping.
A quarter.
Yeah, so it's not a quarter. It's 3 shipments because you can't. It's very difficult to ship wine in the middle of the summer.
Right.
The wine doesn't travel well in high temperatures. So trying to get across the middle of the country in the summertime is brutal. So we go before summer and after summer, and then you get a spring one.
And then the $200 is quarterly.
No, it's per shipment. So it averages about $225 per shipment. And there's 3 shipments a year of 4 bottles. And then you can go to there's a club that's exactly half of that. So you get 2 bottles 3 times a year, and those shipments average about $100.
That's really fair.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
really
bad.
good.
It's not bad. You get a discount.
And then they get access to here?
And they get free tastings when they come in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you get free tastings. You first, because on the bigger club, on that 4-bottle club, it's tiered. So your discount gets bigger the longer you're in. So we like to reward loyalty, and so it's first year, you're 20% off on your purchases. Year 2, 22. Year 3, 25.
That's awesome. How long ago did you guys start that?
Loyalty program has been around for about 4 or 5 years, I would say. It was a play.
It works out really good business-wise, huh?
Well, what happened is when we started evaluating our membership life cycle, we saw that most people abandon the wine club after the first year. So you have this big drop off in membership from year 1 to year 2. And so I was trying to figure out how to entice somebody enough. Like, how many percentage points do I need to give away to get you to stay on to year 2? Because what we saw is after year 2 to year 5, they stay on a lot longer. So you got to just get them over that first hurdle. And the average life cycle of a membership in the wine industry right now is 18 months. We're averaging 33 months in our membership life cycle.
That's huge.
So yeah,
that's huge. Congratulations.
But that comes from consistency of quality.
Right.
And,
right. There's no other way of explaining it.
You have to keep delivering at that level, because people will drop you in a heartbeat, man. You put out a bad bottle of wine, or you piss them off here on site.
The problem is there's too many options. So when you have somebody,
especially in the wine game,
in any game, you know, you can ride a Harley Davidson and you get 1 or 2 bad experiences at the dealer, and it's like, you know what, I'm over this, you know, or I don't want Ducati. You know,
I'm buying an Indian.
Yeah, I'm buying an Indian. I'm done, you know, and that happens, or vice versa. Obviously, Harley Davidson. I don't want to piss them off.
I love Harley Davidson.
Yeah, I love it. But those are the things that people don't understand. Like I just made an order with Pro Flowers, and they messed up, you know, on Valentine's Day. I was pissed. I was like, you know what? Never again. And they sent me flowers anyways, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll still use
I like
them.
you still.
Yeah, I'll still work with them and stuff.
I'm not calling 1-800-Flowers.
But it's so easy for people to lose the focus on their clients. And for some reason, companies focus on new clients instead of their existing clients. And that's something that I never understood either, because, you know, AT&T will give promos to the new clients, but the people that have been clients for 10 years, there's no benefit. You know, there's a sign up, you know, and get paid $89 for all 3 services, and while the old ones are paying $160, like, hey, what about us? So that's good that you guys are focusing on your retention. Yeah,
the retention is huge, especially when you live and die
important.
When you live and die by that model. So and new signups are important as well, though. You know,
of course.
And so it's the lifeblood. So
I mean, but it's almost like 50-50 existing and new clients. You can't be like 80% new clients or 80%. It's 50-50. You got to treat them evenly.
Well, it's on the weekends when we walk the floor, you know, and we'll be visiting with tables, and we always ask. It's just a habit, like, first time here, first time visiting us, and you'd be amazed with how many people like, yeah, it's our first time, you know, and we've done a really good job of networking within the valley. You know, we're the only winery that invites over each winery individually and wines and dines each property individually to thank them for the referrals.
That's huge.
Nobody else does that, you know. And on the bigger properties, him and I will light the barbecue, and we'll barbecue for the bigger properties, like the resort properties, and we'll host 40, 50. Back before COVID, when you could host, we'd host the entire team, and they'd come over, and it'd be him and I barbecuing and serving wine and giving them empanadas and chimichurri and just saying, hey, thank you, because you help feed our family, and we're grateful for it, and we're thankful for. You know, your one referral makes the difference.
Absolutely.
So, and we've been doing that for years.
And I see you guys have a lot of motorcycle parking. You guys get a lot of bikers.
The best is when people park in those spots. They try to stick a Tesla in those little spots, you know, and you're like, dude, or you see a big old, you know, you see like a Denali Yukon
taking like 10 of them. Like,
dude,
what are you
like,
doing?
bro, it says motorcycle parking all over it.
Yeah.
You know, the spot is 3 feet wide, and you try to stuff a Denali in there.
No, but that's cool. Obviously, you did that for the passion of motorcycles. But do you guys get a lot of motorcyclists here?
All the time.
Do you guys encourage motorcyclists to come here on the weekends?
Yeah, we encourage them to come visit, obviously responsibly, because
right.
And that's one thing that I do love about the motorcycle community, that we've never had that problem where you see somebody going crazy. You know, like, their motorcyclists are so responsible in that regard, that my experience with that has been that they have maybe one glass of wine, make sure that they have lunch, and then you always see them. And what we do for that very thing is we actually have a coffee cart. When we show the MotoGP races, we have a coffee cart going. And so you don't want to have a glass of wine, that's cool. You can still come hang out, watch the race.
Drink some coffee,
you know.
That's awesome.
And hang out. So
yeah,
we definitely cater to the motor crowd.
My rule of thumb, this is just mine, I'm not advising this to anybody. 2 wheels, 2 drinks tops. That's it. That's usually how I stick with it, depending how many wheels I have.
Depending on what the drink is.
Depending what the drink is, too. No, I'm actually pretty consistent.
Yeah.
You know, 2 wheels, I'll drink either 2 beers or 2 shots or 2 wines. That's it.
Yeah.
But I'll never go over that limit. Like that just builds a little, you know,
the barrier.
boundary, the barrier.
Totally.
It gives me barrier.
Yeah, we've kind of become like a riding destination for people to show up and check out the bikes, and even if they're not into wine. And that's really how the apparel started. The apparel started because we'd get people coming in to check out the bikes, but they weren't buying what we were selling, you know, like they weren't buying any wine. And like, how do you sell this person something, you know? And so my sister and I would look at each other and be like, we need a hat, we need a t-shirt, you know? And so we started with just like a super simple chest stamp, vinyl print, Motor Doffo across the chest.
Is that how the Motor Doffo got started?
Well, he coined that name 20 years ago on his first restoration.
Motor Doffo?
Motor Doffo.
Nice. So you saw a future for that?
No, I wanted to identify
That you like
the
wine,
brand or
your
the
name and
the
motorcycles.
collection. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He named his collection before he knew he had a collection. So
What? You see, this is the stuff schools can't teach. These are the visions and education, and like you can't get this in a traditional school. It's strange.
yeah, it and both what I take is that what's really interesting about what we've done is that both brands were never supposed to be what they are. Like we were never supposed to be a winery. We were never supposed to be Motor Doffo vintage motorcycle collection, you know, or Motor Doffo now is, we just call it the collection, because now with my sister's vision of the apparel, we have an apparel line. And she does 2 launches a year of apparel. And with the vision I had of the wine and the art of making, you know, a wine label with artists and doing an art series for each vintage, so now we call it Motor Doffo Wine Art Moto, because it's all 3. You know, and it all circles around his passion that he instilled in us of motorcycles.
It's so funny how things work out, because, you know, I've been here for 2 hours, and your dad, when I told him, hey, we're going to do the podcast, he's like, you know, I remember you from the all-purpose cleaner, and what am I going to do with you and being an all-purpose cleaner and talk to you?
Yeah, why am I talking to this
Why
guy?
am I talking to you? And it's funny because, you know, same thing. I had Ride Boundless. I trademarked it before I had the cleaner. I had just a website selling a few motorcycle parts. And then I made the cleaner, and that's when I met your father. He wanted to trade a bottle. I had a busy booth. My booth was booming that day. And then your father came over, and he says, I don't remember exactly, but he said something along the lines like, I'll trade you my bottle of wine for your cleaner, you know. And I was like, okay. So we traded bottles, and then I was just busy. And anyways, now I'm here and thinking about it, you know, I then changed the name of the cleaner to Ride Clean, but I had Ride Boundless patent and trademarked. And then a year ago, I launched the podcast, and, you know, I was like, what should I name it? And I was like, well, I have Ride Boundless trademarked, so why don't I just name it the Ride Boundless Podcast? And it's just weird because I did that 4 years ago, not knowing what it's going to be today. And today it's a pretty big deal, you know, and you know, luckily, because I have this, I get to sit down with you guys and hear your story and what you guys do and why you guys do what you do. But it's just interesting how things work out.
I guess if you put all your energy and your heart, it's doable. And probably one of the most amazing things is the incredible country that we are in.
Yeah.
This is it. Regardless,
the country of
anything,
opportunities.
but this is it.
Yeah.
I think I can say that I'm living proof of the American dream. Okay, because you come with nothing, but if you do the right thing and if you are consistent and if you are dedicated, this country is very generous.
Yeah, especially if you're consistent.
And the society is very trustworthy and respectful.
Yeah,
because we come from a society where it's hard, it's difficult. Everybody is trying to get you you can't trust. You can park your car. You can leave anything outside. And here, you know, when you realize you don't have to lock your doors, or people come here and leave your credit card on file, and they come back and they become your friends, because at the end of the day, we sell happiness. We don't sell anything that people really need to have.
Right. You sell an experience.
We sell the experience of seeing probably more than one family member around, because this is our life.
Yeah.
And I think this is it's important for the customers, because they can always see us. You go to different wineries and the owners are like untouchable. You know, they don't show up. You don't know who they are. So this is a family business, and when the customers arrive, we treat them like family too.
It's truly a beautiful thing what you've done here. Again, this is my first time here, and I'm going to be here a lot more. I'm going to check out your guys' events, and I'm sure we'll do another episode, maybe after an event, you know, but I want to say congratulations to you. You got an awesome father. You got an amazing son, your sisters. You want to give a shout out to their names?
Yeah, my sister Bridget and Samantha.
Samantha for what they're doing on the motor apparel, or the
yeah,
not even motor apparel.
So Bridget does all the design, aesthetics, and she's like our creative, and then Sam helps us coordinate events, and she's always coming up with original event ideas. And the one that she pitched me yesterday was Studio 54 for our next wine club release party. I have no idea what Studio 54 has to do with our summer release.
Right.
But like the last one we did was a sock hop, and she's always coming up with these fun ideas for our wine club members to come get out of the norm a little bit. And I think now
you have to throw these themes. You got to experiment.
just to do something fun. But what's interesting is going back to, we're one of the smallest properties in the valley, and our ideas and our events
are the biggest ones.
No, they get copied like crazy. Like
that's good.
So many things that we do, all of a sudden there's somebody that releases something just like that, uses the same name.
Or a wine box.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff, you know. And so but what they're lacking is the authenticity of it, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to replicate when it's real, you know. Like he said, like, this is what we do. Like, I don't look at it as my work anymore. It's just my life. I live 2 doors down from here, and this is just something that we do day in, day out, and it's our lifeblood and it's our passion.
That's amazing.
And it's cool. And I'm living an incredible moment because of his wild idea to come put plants in the ground in Temecula.
Yeah. Well, especially you too, because you're in this midpoint in your life. Not that it's a midpoint in your life, but in this mid balance between your father and your kids, you know, and you're seeing it all. You know,
Yeah.
you've witnessed stuff with your father, and you're going to witness stuff with your kid. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a really special time.
It's a very special time.
And the best part about it is that the whole family's in it.
Yeah.
My sister's my neighbor. Like, I could throw a rock at my sister's front door. You know, I bought her. Our driveways.
I don't even get along with mine.
Our driveways
awesome.
literally line up. You know, so I bought her a pair of binoculars for her birthday so she could watch my TV from her front door. You know, just stuff like that. We mess with each other like that. But and then he lives on the other side. You know, a few doors down from us. So it's cool. Like the golf cart to Grandpa's house. You know, or we can. The other day, my 2 kids, they ride Stasics and a PW50, and we took off down the street and rode to Grandpa's house, you know, and cruised through the vineyard and up to his door, and said, all right, see you later. And we took off and ripped back through the vineyards and through the winery, and, you know, and so it's...
You guys are living the dream.
Dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. And we get to play with motorcycles. And then we've been able to blend in the motorcycle
and everybody
stuff.
rides, the sisters, everybody rides.
Everybody
right?
rides. Everybody rides.
And we also race, which is very interesting to go and race with your own family, with your wife, your kid.
Yeah, that
your
wouldn't
daughter.
be competitive at all.
No.
Yeah, that wouldn't be competitive at all.
Yeah.
Last thing, where can we find you guys? What are your Instagrams, Facebooks, websites?
So DoffoWinery.com, Doffo Winery on the Instagram and Facebook channels, and then Moto Doffo Collection on Instagram. Somebody poached Moto Doffo and they won't sell it to me, so it's Moto Doffo Collection on Instagram. Somebody, can you believe somebody poached me early on, dude? Like they snagged it. It's just some random, and they won't respond to anything.
And they won't respond.
And I've trademarked it, and even Instagram won't give it.
They won't honor it.
They won't give it to me.
Yeah.
So all good. Moto Doffo Collection.
I got a domain like that they just won't release. Fuckers. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Till next time.
Thank you.